Hi, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome back to Miss Raga's Art Room. Okay, so we've tackled completing the landscape. Now it's time to add our beautiful calligraphy element to accompany our painting. So remember, in Chinese culture, okay, and particularly with this genre of art, the Chinese-inspired landscape painting, the calligraphy is just as an important art form, if not more important, than the visual imagery itself of the landscape elements. So we're gonna honor that, and we're gonna create our own gorgeous titles to go with it. Okay, so first thing to understand about Chinese characters is that it's a bit different than English. So in English, we have an alpha-phonetic alphabet, meaning we have these letters that represent sounds, and those letters, when combined, create different sounds, which create our words, right? In the Chinese language, it's a pictorial language, meaning each of these characters represents a word or a concept, but it's each individual little image, okay? So it's incredibly beautiful and incredibly complex in how these characters actually form the words for the Chinese language, right? For a mastery of, being able to read a Chinese newspaper, I think it's upwards of 3,000 characters. Don't quote me on that, but it's quite a lot of characters you have to know to be able to work in the Chinese language, either Mandarin or Cantonese. Okay, so let's get started. You'll need your rice paper. You'll need some pure dark ink. You'll need Chinese character packet, as well as, if you've got your Chromebook on you, Google Translate is awesome for this. We've had a lot of fun with it. And a pencil to start sketching out your characters to begin with. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is that your title doesn't have to make literal sense. It can be like poetry, okay? It can be, elements that are a part of your landscape. It can be, it doesn't have to, what I mean by literal sense is, it doesn't have to be like, the path leading to the mountain through a rainy forest, right? It can just be path, mountain, forest. Again, kind of like poetry, okay? Because we are celebrating the art form of these gorgeous characters. So I'm just going to be working from the table packet because that's easier to video. But at the end of this video section, I will also show you on screen where to go to Google Translate if you want to use Google Translate to look up your characters. So first things first, make sure you're working on the right side of your rice paper. All right, you should feel a smooth or a slightly shiny side versus this kind of textured paper towel side. Okay, so here we go, smooth, shiny side. And we're going to actually start sketching out. So I'm going to write my name just in the corner of my rice paper, just in case these little guys tend to get lost, okay? And let's say I want to do, let's say, cloud, sun, and mountain for my title. Cloud, sun, mountain. The language is written vertically, okay, as opposed to left to right, as English is read. And so I want you to sketch lightly in pencil, focusing on line weight as well, the shape of these beautiful characters. Okay, now I understand this is not really the true formal way that calligraphy would be done using the brush. I do not have that skill, ladies and gents. We are honoring the culture as best we can with the knowledge that we have. If you've been doing calligraphy lessons or Chinese immersion, please feel free to share your knowledge with the class, okay? Or to do something a little bit more sophisticated. But for those of us who, maybe haven't been studying Mandarin or Cantonese, and we don't know much about calligraphy, we're still gonna honor this art form and the beautiful shapes through sketching and doing what we can with our pencil and brush. Okay, so there's my mountain, there's my cloud, and let's also include, I'll do sunset, okay? Now for some character combinations for words, okay, like sunset, sunrise, you'll see that the character actually isn't a single pictograph, okay, but is actually, or not a single character I should say, but is actually two combined. Okay. In the case where it's two combined, what you would do is still draw them side by side. Now Google Translate's really fun, where you can actually find much more specific items related to your particular landscape. Whereas in my little table packets, I just tried to think of a number of different landscape items that might be, or landscape images that might be in your landscape. Using Google's Translate to either simplified or traditional Chinese, you really can come up with elaborate, beautiful titles which really speak to the visual imagery of your landscape, right? And again, your calligraphy should relate to the visual imagery in your landscape that you created, right? It shouldn't just be random. Excellent. Okay, so I've got it sketched out in pencil. I strongly encourage, I won't do this on the video, but that you grab a second rice paper once you have a character set that you like and a title that you like, that you feel represents and honors the visual painting work you've done in the landscape so far, that you trace over and do a second copy. Because if you have an oops with the ink, it's so much easier to just grab, whoop, you're like take two out, right, and re-ink depending on you know, your character set. So make one, maybe even two extra copies, so that as that oops happens, it's no biggie. For control, I'm gonna work with the little blue detail brush, but maybe you feel more comfortable with the angle or even the round bristle brush. Perhaps it's even the bamboo bristle brush. You grab the brush that works for you. Okay, and now I'm gonna put out just a dropper full of dark ink. We're gonna use the pure black ink for this. Okay, and now I'm going to start painting in that really beautiful calligraphy. And you do want to pay attention to the line weight. This is that line weight component of your rubric, right? That thick to thin. There are parts of the calligraphy that are thick, parts of the calligraphy that then go to thin line. Right, you don't want it to be just flat. I want to see an attempt at some of those changes in line weight. Thick versus thin line. All right, there's my mountain. Okay, let's put in cloud. And take your time. I like to kind of rest my hand on the tabletop as I work, because I don't have a very steady hand. Now, as you're doing this, I hope you're starting to have a feel for the masterful skill of the master calligrapher video we watched, because it is so difficult. It takes decades of practice to really do beautiful calligraphy that reaches the level of you know, gorgeous high art form, you know, versus our very kind of basic start of what we're doing today. I'm going to flip my packet back open. And there we go. I think we'll go with that sunset one, just so I've got the image to work from. Now, if you have time to do a second, I encourage you to do that, because what we're going to be doing is, once our landscapes are all finished, we've done all of our touch-up or finish-up work, we're going to be deciding which calligraphy is our best to mount as our final with our landscape. So it's always good to have, you know, more, not less choice. So again, if you have time, go ahead and do an extra, so that way you can choose what your best is, right? But if you only have time to do one, that's totally okay. But hopefully, if you've got one of those spares and you have a chance to ink it, Remember, minimum is 3 characters, but of course you are more than welcome to do more than that. Really look at the beautiful shape that the lines form, the balance of it, right? This is why calligraphy is truly its own art form. Remember, if you want to make the line wider, you do more pressure on the bristles. It'll spread those bristles out further. And every time I do this, even after years of doing this project, I have such an appreciation for this art form, because I can see just in my own attempts and my own practice how much skill it takes to do this beautifully. Okay, and there is my nice calligraphy landscape. If you just give this a couple minutes, and ladies and gents, it should be dry enough to just keep in your folder, okay? Remember, make sure your name is on the bottom of it so that in case it gets lost, I can get it back to you, because we'll be mounting these together. So there it is. There is our landscape exploration, sorry, our calligraphy exploration. So remember, you are required to use 3 characters written vertically. Some of the characters, okay, may actually involve 2 visual components to the symbol, which should be done side by side. And of course, now at the end of the video here, I'll show you, if you want to kind of go above and beyond, check out Google Translate for some more specific wording based on your landscape. All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for joining me in Miss Raga's Art Room, and I'll be seeing you later. Bye-bye.